Mr Speaker, I was checking out the website hardtimes.org.nz the other day, which is pushing for a fair deal in hard times, calling for people to sign the petition, hold a workplace meeting, or just to read the real-life stories of people who'd copped a bad deal in redundancy. It sets out pretty much all the reasons why any decent citizen should support a minimum level of redundancy protection for all workers. And what's being proposed here ain't nothing flash. 4 weeks notice, 4 weeks redundancy for the first year, and 2 weeks after that up to 26 weeks. But the key focus of the bill is that a redundancy agreement should be part of every employment contract. That if we really are committed to a fair deal in hard times, then everybody should be entitled to basic redundancy protection to help them get by between jobs. Now, I don't know whether I buy into the exact details of the bill, because I can recall a couple of years ago when we were pushing for a minimum wage, being rudely reminded by my wife that if I was going to talk about a minimum wage, then I had to make sure that my kura, Te Rangiā Niwaniwa, and the local iwi radio stations operating under Te Heku Media were actually paying according to the standards that I was preaching. So I had to go back and have a sit down with the bosses and go through the numbers. What I found out was that in both cases, we were paying better than most other local businesses, but that we weren't actually paying the minimum wages in certain cases. However, after a review of finances, some careful consideration and some creative thinking, both Te Rangiā Niwaniwa and Te Heku Media were able to make some readjustments to ensure that everyone was being paid at least the minimum wage, which I can tell you, Mr Speaker, is no mean feat in a town that lies in the heart of the country's highest Māori unemployment zone. And that's the challenge I have with this bill, Mr Speaker, because I haven't yet had a chance to get the folks at Āniwaniwa or Te Heku Media to run the numbers on this redundancy proposal to see whether we can actually operate on the basis as outlined in this bill. But certainly the principle of workers having redundancy protection to tide them over between jobs is a sound one, and one that both I and the Māori Party are more than happy to support. We support the Employment Relations Act 2000, we support amendments to make it more worker-friendly, and we support pay and employment equity legislation. So we certainly support the intention of this bill to provide all workers with the redundancy support to tide them through the tough times. Kia ora tātou.
I call Hani Harawira. Oh, sorry.
I know that we all tend to look alike.
The Honourable Tau Henare.
It's something that we've been fighting against for a long, long time. But we'll get there. Mr Speaker. Oh, well, if we want to go down that track, Mr Speaker, I wanted to start my kōrero tonight, Mr Speaker, with this quote. Comes from March 2000. This bill marks a new era in industrial relations in New Zealand, an era that will be distinguished